Good afternoon. Welcome to Licensing Subcommittee. Can I just start off with reading the protocol for remote hearings? Only speak when invited to by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. Please ensure that your mics are muted when you are not speaking. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time frames. If referring to any written submissions, please refer to the specific page number in the agenda pack. Any new evidence can only be submitted at the discretion of the chair and the agreement of all parties. If you are having technical difficulties, please use the chat function to alert the meeting or dial in using the details in the invitation. Please do not use the chat function for putting formal questions to the subcommittee. Any persistent disruptive behaviour will result in removal from the meeting. Once the application has been considered, any remaining parties will be asked to log out of the hearing. Please do so promptly so that councillors will have the opportunity to deliberate and make a decision. Each party will be notified of the decision within 5 working days. However, if you contact the licensing service in the following day, you will be given a skeleton decision. Can I start off with the first item on the agenda? Can we elect a chair, please?
Thank you. I would like to elect Councillor Gilbert Smith as the chair for this meeting. Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting. You'll have to bear with me today because don't have a hard copy. I'm using my computer. But yeah, today's licensing subcommittee D. You can all see that. Tuesday the 30th of May, 2 o'clock, and the agenda's on the inside. I presume you've all got an agenda that you can see there, either online or a physical copy. So welcome, everyone. Just before we start, we'll just the virtual room and just introduce ourselves. So I'm Councillor Smith, Chair of Licensing, and also Councillor Stoke Newington. Councillor Root. You're on mute.
Sorry. I'm Councillor Penny Root. I'm the councillor representing Victoria Ward.
Thank you. And Councillor Susarunga.
Councillor Sheila Susarunga, representing Hackney Central Ward.
Thank you very much. And David Chewett.
Hi, I'm David Chewett. I'm Team Leader, Licensing and Technical Support, and I'll be presenting the reports today.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. Rabia?
My name is Rabia Khatun and I'm the Governance Officer.
Thank you very much. No. Charlie, are you there?
Oh, sorry, your connection cut out a bit there, Chair. My name is Channing Riviere, representing the licensing authority today.
Fantastic. We have Mario on the call. Mario helps us with our IT, so thank you, Mario, for that. And then we have Rifat.
Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Hiba, this is Rifat, and we've got Nada and we're representing the management at King of Falafel.
Thank you very much. That's good. I'll just write that down. Okay, excellent. And then today we have Councillor Chris Kennedy, who's just observing today. He's on the call. I don't know if you just want to introduce yourself quickly, Chris.
Yeah, Councillor Chris Kennedy. I represent Hackney Wick Ward. I'm observing today as part of my training as a new member of the Licensing Committee.
Thank you very much. And then we have PC Griggs.
Good afternoon, Chair. Yeah, PC Amanda Griggs here for the Police Licensing Unit.
Thank you very much. And then we have our lawyer, Amanda.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda North from Legal Services, supporting members. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so without further ado, we shall move on with the agenda. So agenda item 1 was election of chair, which we've done. And then agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Apologies have been received from Councillor Garbutt today, and Councillor Susarunga is substituting. So thank you for substituting Councillor Susarunga today. at the last minute. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Do members have any interest to declare?
No declaration of interest, Chair.
Councillor Root, I can't see you, and sometimes I can, when I do see you, you nod your head or whatever. It makes it a bit easier.
Sorry. No, I don't have any declarations of interest.
Brilliant, excellent. Okay, agenda item 4 is minutes of previous meeting, and there are no minutes for consideration today. Agenda item 5. This is where I outline the hearing procedure, which I'll just go through very quickly for everyone. So step 1 is the appointment of chair, which we've done. Step 2, the principal licensing officer, in this case Mr. Jewett, will outline the report. Step 3, the applicant will present their case in support of their application. These are 5 minutes each, and we'll try and stick to that if we can. Step 4 is responsible authorities, again 5 minutes each. Other persons, 5 minutes each. And then step 6 is a discussion over roughly around 15 minutes we aim for. Step 7, closing remarks. Step 8, points of final clarification, and then we'll ask people to leave, and we can we'll then consider this at the end. Decisions, skeleton decisions, will be available by phone tomorrow within 5 working days, written. I hope that's clear. The order of the agenda has changed today, so we're changing. What we're taking 297 Old Street first, then Crank Brothers, and then the Quarter Kitchen. So does that make sense to everyone? I'm just looking to see that you're all happy with that. So 297 Old Street first, Crank Brothers second, the Quarter Kitchen third. Yeah? Everyone happy? Okay, great. So let's move on to the King of Falafel. That'll be you, Rifat. 297 Old Street. If we could get the Mr. Jewett to, yeah, Mr. Jewett, Principal Licensing Officer, if you would like to outline the report, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So first item to be considered this afternoon is the application to vary the existing premises licence issued in respect of King of Falafel 297 Old Street. So this is a variation application under Section 34 of the Licensing Act 2003. The application seeks to extend hours authorised for the provision of late night refreshment to the hours as laid out in paragraph 2.3 of the agenda item. We received representations during the consultation period from the police and the licensing authority. Those representations are appended in the report. There are no representations from any other responsible authority or from local other persons. The premises is within a special policy area, so that policy applies there, LP10. And that concludes my introduction. Thank you, Chair.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Jewett. Any points of clarification at this point, members?
No points of clarification.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I've got Hiba of Get Rapid Plans as the applicant. Is that correct?
The applicant is actually the license holder, which is Mohammed Salman, and we are the management team that were actually applying, but we had to put his name because he's the license holder at the moment.
Okay, so you're going to be speaking, is that right?
Yeah, all 3 of us will be speaking.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so you've got 5 minutes, please, to present your case in support of your application, and I'll put you on the clock. So off you go. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. So we, just to give you guys a bit of background, we've just taken over as new management of King of Falafel, roughly in the end of January to beginning of February. We have only been managing it, I think it's been a couple of months now, and we were looking to extend the hours of operation to, I believe it's 3 a.m. every day from Monday to Sunday through to Wednesday, and then Thursday to Saturday to 4 a.m. You might need to just bear with us a little bit because we are completely new to this. We didn't have any help with applying for this hour extension. So from the representations we've received and the advice we've been given, I don't think we've gone about it correctly. I think we haven't covered a lot of the things, as you guys mentioned, the special policy area or anything like that. So we didn't cover that in the initial application, but we have gotten the advice that we needed to be able to go through with that. So we don't really have anything else to say really other than that. We did receive the representations from the police and the licensing authority about a few occasions where the premises was kept open beyond the hours that were previously granted back in October. But we can't really comment on anything that's happened then, just because we weren't the management at the time. The current license holder was the manager at the time, and he has handed over all operation to us, and he no longer attends the venue. So everything is in our hands now. So there were a few occasions that were mentioned in February that we remained open. However, we as the management team weren't available at the time. We were away, and we have hired a completely new set of staff who have been managing the premises while we've been away, and we were redecorating as well. So we've been repainting and upscaling the premises, and they decided to do that after hours without our permission, didn't think it would be a problem. And so they continued to do that on a couple of occasions. And then there was an incident that was reported by the police on the 11th of March, which we were present for. And they had said that we were open, I think it was 10 minutes after the closing time, which was only because of 2 payments declining at the time. And so we have evidence of all of this as well, where we've had to retake the declined payments. But the last payment was taken at 12 o'clock on the dot, and the 2 officers that arrived, they were turned away. Sorry?
It was 1. It was 1 o'clock, yeah.
Sorry, it was 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
not 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we understand the police's concerns, and we understand the licensing authority's concerns as well. But it has been 3 months since we've, as far as we are aware, have received any complaints of any sort. We've been operating according to the license that was given to us back in October, and the license holder has no involvement in the running of the business at the moment. So it is just us that's running it, and we are making sure that we adhere to every single policy that's there. We have also taken into consideration the suggestion that we reduce the hours that we've asked for, which we are open to as well. We didn't really think, I don't think we thought, we just kind of went for the application. So yeah, we're open to any suggestions, any, in a reduction in hours, which I believe Channing's requested as well. Maybe we should reduce that, maybe request for 1 hour. Even if we can't do that, even if we can request for a delivery period where we can extend our deliveries, that would be really useful as well. So at this point, we'll take whatever, if you guys are going to approve anything. And then maybe we can, as the police said, operate for a little bit longer and then apply again for an hour extension.
Okay, there's quite a bit there, members. Thank you for that, Rifat. I don't know if we want to stop here and ask for any points of clarification or wait to the discussion. It's up to you. Any urgent points you'd like to raise?
No points from me.
Councillor Root.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a question about the arrangements for the management of the whole thing. So you are not the licensees at the moment then?
No, we don't hold any. We have nothing to do with the license. We've just been hired as a new management team, so that the license owner, I believe, has some other businesses that he needs to focus on at the moment. So we are.
So in that case, my question is partly directed at the licensing officer, Mr. Tuitt, to ask him, is it possible for somebody who isn't the licensee to ask for this? It just seems a little bit strange. I mean, I understand that you're managing the premise, so just not sure if you're actually able to change anything in the terms of the license if you're not the licensee. That's my question.
An application can be made on behalf of a license holder by an agent or by someone else, by a solicitor. But I'm just wondering if we were aware before this hearing started that the licensee wouldn't be here in person. Just looking to see what I've got in my update?
I did send over an email to, I think it was a lady called Scenaria, who was a licensing officer, and I just asked her if he needed to be present, and she said no. So that's why he didn't come today, but he was
Oh.
the applicant. His name is on the application.
Yeah.
So he is aware that we've requested we asked permission to do this before. So he's aware of the whole situation. He just wasn't able to make it today.
So you
Chair,
say
I
that
think-
yeah, go on, Amanda.
I was only going to say that, is there any intention for the licence holder to transfer the licence at all, or is it that he's going to maintain the, I think that's what you need to clarify.
In negotiation.
We're still in negotiation.
We're
Yeah,
negotiating.
we're still in negotiation at the moment. I think he would like to give us over the license, but we're still in negotiation in terms of the amount and all of that stuff. So yeah, it is
Possibly,
possible
yeah,
that we
possibly
will
what happened.
take.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for that question, Councillor Root. That was an important question. I'm just going to say something here, just so you can sit on it, because you're sort of fresh to this, and you're kind of new. You're going to be the new sort of license holder when you negotiate the deal, whatever. I mean, can I suggest that you just keep with the existing licenses you've got at the moment? Prove that you can operate fine under those conditions, and then come back later. I'm just putting it out there so you can just sit on that and have a think about that whilst we go through the responsible authorities.
Mhm.
Okay, so shall we move on to the police now, please? So PC Griggs, I know you've got a number of concerns, and could you just talk about the operating outside of their hours and those particular days that you mentioned in your representation? Just go into it a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, so police concerns have been with the venue, with Mohammed Saman, who's the licence holder running the venue. He has done for a while. He had, it was only back in October in front of subcommittee after applying for a 2 o'clock licence, and he was granted 1 o'clock in October of last year. So that licence has only been in effect for a short while. And then with, since a new management coming in, again, not much time to see this operate. And at the moment, I would agree and have said this to them, that I think they need a period of showing us they can operate with the current licence. And I proposed that prior to this meeting to them as well. So just wanted to reiterate and sort of agree with yourself, Chair, there. Police concerns, again, as you've mentioned, have been about operating after hours. And from what I say, the information that we've had, it is prior to this, to these new people coming in and taking the management of the premises on. 2:30 was on one occasion on the 18th of February. Officers go in and find them still serving food, and that's an hour and a half after they should have been closed. 26th of February, again, 5 to 2 in the morning, again, should have been shut at 1 o'clock. 11th of March, 1:10, we'll give that's fine. They've given us an explanation for that. But on both of the other 2 occasions, officers would have seen them serving hot food to people. It wasn't just a redecorating, it wasn't whatever going on. There would have been hot food being served and customers in and out of the venue. So that's our concerns. Should this say Rifat and Hibat take this premises on, then one, I would really ask them to become the licence holder, because my concern is with the current premises licence holder and his track record of running the establishment. My concern with any later hours given is what is to stop Mohammed Saman saying, I'll have the premises back now, off you go, you've got me in my later licence for going to the committee hearing for me, I'll run it as badly as he was. Prior to them coming in, so is there any sort of contract or anything there, or it's say, I know they're in negotiations to obviously take that licence themselves, but that would be the ideal if they're going to run it sort of by the book. Because to say it's Mohammed Saman and his running of the operation that we've had issues with in the past. So it's only been a few months since he got a 1 o'clock extension. That on the few occasions we've been out, we've noticed that he has operated after those hours already. So that's where our concerns are, is that the prior to, so since these guys have taken over, it seems to be running much smoother, and it does seem to be shutting when it's supposed to be, and we've not had a concern in the last couple of months. But prior to this, with Mohammed Salman running the venue, there have been concerns, and they have been going over hours. And that's police's main concerns, that it hasn't been had this 1 o'clock license for that long, and already it's been breached.
Yeah, and on those dates that were mentioned there, 18th of Feb, 11th of March, there's one other. They had 2 staff and no security. Did that apply all 3 days?
That was on the 11th of March. That was on the last occasion.
Okay.
Most
So meant to have
definitely.
3
In fact,
staff
they-
and an SIA, aren't
yeah, to be fair, they haven't seen, there was no security inside any of the occasions. It was my colleagues that would have attended. And when I said to them, "Oh, did you see security?" they were surprised, because they've never seen security and didn't know it was a condition on the licence that they'd got in October to have it. So security hasn't been seen there at all.
Yeah. There's a condition on a Friday and Saturday evening that they have at least 3 staff and 1 SIA supervisor. I think it's after 11.
We've definitely not seen any security there.
Yeah.
That was on those occasions. I say since.
Okay.
Then, so
Okay. Thank you very much, PC Griggs, for that. Any points of clarification at this point, members? To the police? No? Okay. Great. Thank you for that, PC Griggs. So now I'd like to invite Channing Riviere from the Licensing Authority to make your submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. You can see my representation at Appendix B2. It relates primarily to the extension of hours within the Shoreditch Special Policy Area, and it alludes to the issues that's been raised by PC Griggs with non-compliance. Now, given that the applicant, or the management team, if you like, has not been operating within the Shoreditch SPA for a significant amount of time, we really have no track record of the operation to really judge them off. Given that it's the SPA, it's really on the applicant to demonstrate that they're not going to add to cumulative impact or potential public nuisance issues. And we don't feel anything additional has been provided within the application to support that, to support an extension of hours. Given that it's a quite busy locality within the SPA as well, we're just not really that confident that at this time, this is the appropriate time to extend the license, especially being within the SPA. And again, the status around the management and the ownership with regards to these new individuals operating the premises and Mr. Salmon being the licensee, it creates a bit of a grey area for us in terms of potential enforcement action, or, you know, those kind of issues. If any of those do arise, then I would suggest, along with PC Griggs, that the license is transferred before they seek to amend it. Unless, for example, Mr. Salmon was to come back to the subcommittee and make his representations as to why, in conjunction with the management team now, why the extension of hours should be granted, then it's very difficult for us to say that it should be extended when the actual licensee is not present as well. So I don't really have any submissions other than that, Chair, but the hours themselves that they've requested do seem quite excessive, especially the Sunday to Friday, 3 a.m. Saturday, 4 a.m. Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Rabia, could you do me a favour and just go through their existing conditions on the license to see what it says about deliveries? Because we want to just investigate that. So I'm just going to open the floor to members now and move into the kind of discussion phase. And we've kind of already cut to the chase, really, in a way. The police would like you to stick with the current licenses. You've got it. The chair would like you to stick with that. I presume members might feel similarly. I'll bring members in now to ask questions and do a bit more probing. Councillor Root, Councillor Susan Rungan, Councillor Root.
Well, it's just a question really about the conditions that are there at the moment for security. Are you aware of the fact that on Friday and Saturday nights you're supposed to have an SIA checked security member of staff? And if not, why not? And if so, why isn't there one there all the time?
So yeah, so we were made aware pretty late, to be honest with you. We weren't made aware as soon as we took over, but we do have a security man that does stand at the door. I think at the time that they came on the previous times that PC Griggs has mentioned, because the staff kept the premises open for so much later, the security had left, but we weren't aware of this. They were redecorating in the shop, and they did keep the shop open because they were redecorating. I think they weren't aware that you can't just keep it open. They thought because they were there, we might as well, keep it open. We're already there. So security was only supposed to be there till about 12 o'clock between, is it
1, yeah,
1 o'clock
yeah.
till 1 o'clock. But because they kept it open, I think it was around up until 2:30, the security had already left. So we do have a security man there, but in these circumstances, there wouldn't have been, just because he's scheduled to leave at around
He does
10.
attend only three days, Thursdays, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah, but
Yep.
the times
the week is off.
that they came and the shop was open, he would have been long gone by then. So yeah,
Mm.
we are
Mhm.
have somebody there, and we're also happy to add
Provide
addition.
his
Yeah,
business
yeah,
if
we
you
can
would like
provide
to, yeah.
information, and we can add additions as well if that helps. We can add another security staff there as well if that helps to reduce any groups that do form. So we have a lot of we do have groups that form there, and we are quite active in dispersing those as well,
Yeah.
as well as the security. So we do try to be as actively involved in that as possible. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for that. Councillor Susan Runga?
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that to us. Just to follow on from the staffing aspect and the security and the staff, I'd like to know perhaps what's in place or what is to follow in respect of training for staff, and also in regard to the understanding and the requirements of what is needed from yourselves as licensees and management in respect to special policy area, in respect of dispersal, waste management, deliveries, how your activities will not impact, become part of a cumulative impact on the area. So really much more detail on that, how you can move forward with that, and also how you can move forward with training. I think that would be really helpful for yourselves moving forward as a business. If you could give me a bit more detail about that, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. So we have since we received the representations, we have taken action on training our staff, and training ourselves, to be honest with you, because we are new to the area as well. So we have gone out of our way to do a bit of research around the area. We didn't realize it was in the special policy area. So we've gone out of our way to do some research on that. There's plenty of information online, and we've also been in touch with, I believe, some consultants in the area who have advised us on, basically where we went a little bit wrong with the application, what we could have done, to provide the mitigating factors of how we would have managed that. But yeah, we have provided training to our staff already about the area. We got one of the consultants to come in and provide that training to them, just so that they're aware fully that, they cannot operate after the specific hours. We actually now close 10 minutes before, just to avoid anything like that happening, if we do get declined payments or anything like that. So that can be covered before completely. We have nobody in the shop. Yeah, so we close on the door at time, even a little bit before. And in terms of how we're going to reduce, I think we need to get a bit more advice on that. We need to seek a bit of advice on, the consultant that we're working with at the moment, because obviously, as PC Griggs advised, that we apply a little bit later for another extension if that's what we're interested in. I think we need to seek some advice on how we're going to manage that. But right now, the only thing we could out of ourselves really offer is just more security, just to help to disperse the crowds and any fights or anything like that happen in the area. That's all I can really say for the time being. But yeah,
First aid would be good. First aid training.
Yeah, that
would be useful. PC Griggs.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, appreciate the offer of obviously an extra security. I would suggest you're probably okay with, to be honest with you, obviously up to the committee, but with one big crowd. It's not sort of a crowd that we would get at bars and things that would need several security to disperse them. So I get where you're coming from and what you're trying to do. but I think one's fine, and it's obviously going to there's a cost impact with that, which I don't think you need at the moment. What I was going to say is I was happy to perhaps meet after this at a later date, sort of give it a week or so, and go through what sort of things we would like to see from you, what we would expect, and training and bits and pieces. We do provide some WAVE training, which is welfare and vulnerability training, which helps staff. Which is free. It happens once a month. You just have to sign up to it, which helps staff be able to identify anybody that's vulnerable, basically, whether it's through because they're intoxicated or whatever. So you might get people, especially if you want those later hours, eventually, that might need some assistance, and even if it's just bringing them in to sit there in a safe place until somebody else could come and help deal with them. So there's that sort of training that we can offer, but I'm certainly happy to sit down and go through the conditions that are already there, what you can do at the moment, and then what you need to show going forward, if that makes sense of what you can do.
Yeah, that'll be really useful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, PC Griggs, for that suggestion. That's really good. Rabia, did you find any conditions on deliveries at all? So you're on mute.
I find that a decision where it said food deliveries are not permitted, and that was the variation that was agreed in 13th of October 2022.
So just to clarify, Rifat, are you talking about deliveries like takeaways from the place? Are you talking about delivering items to the establishment, your supplies essentially? What are we talking about here?
In terms of deliveries, we were hoping to just like Deliveroo and Uber Eats. That's what we were trying to.
Yeah, exactly.
Go
The
for.
delivery service, which is Uber Eats or Deliveroo,
Yeah,
one of these
so
services.
to the customer's home.
If you can like extend an hour or something.
Because right now I think it's
till 11 o'clock.
till 11 we're allowed to.
And you want to extend that, do you?
Yeah, possibly. If we're not able to get the hour extension as
to
we've
open for the
requested,
customer, so we can
yeah,
open for deliveries
it would be something we would want as well if it's possible at all.
Okay, Rabia, can you just read out that condition, please, again?
Okay, so it goes, the following conditions. Food deliveries are not permitted. Pre-orders and collection only.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to spin it over to PC Griggs on this one, just for your sense about this, because obviously we didn't allow deliveries before, takeaways. I've looked at the area on Google Maps. It's a red route, is that right? So it's going to be tricky for them to stop, isn't it? PC Griggs, would you mind just commenting on this?
I think that was our concerns before, if I remember rightly, was where people would go to wait to then come and collect food items and stuff because of the red route. And I think there was scaffolding and roadworks along there at the time as well, potentially, that was sort of getting in the way and making it even more difficult. I am open to them talking about deliveries within the hours they've got. Certainly, if we can come up with a suitable plan of where people could wait, because having delivery riders out on that main road would just cause complete havoc. It's chaotic enough as it is along there at night. But if we could find somewhere where it would be easy and convenient for drivers to go to wait to come and collect orders, then I'm quite happy to talk about that.
Fantastic. So Amanda, we could maybe have a sort of modified condition there, that they work with the police on the deliveries, and then we work out what the times are later. Is that possible?
Chair, I was going to suggest, I think that's what's been done recently. I think it's called the delivery management plan. I don't know if that's to do with delivering of the food, or is it just delivery of supplies? I don't know if PC Griggs can help. Do they normally?
I think the supplies is probably not as critical.
No,
really,
I'm just double checking whether or not the delivery management plan is specifically for delivery of like these Uber Eats or whatever they might do.
Yes, it would be. It'd be where they wait and how they wait and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Chair, I don't know whether or not a delivery management plan would be advisable. That means that would have to be agreed between the police and the licensing authority. So it's not for us to do the wording now, because it is probably a bit more complicated, because they have to work out where they're going to actually have the delivery drivers wait. So that needs to be worked out. So I don't think it's something we can do very quickly. We're going to be able to do you know, it would still have to be agreed with the licensing authority and the police. So I don't know.
So how would it work, Amanda? Would they have to come back and apply again if they wanted to extend those hours? Because they can do it until 11 at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what your decision is as to whether or not they can have additional hours, they would have to apply again. But the delivery management plan, if you were granting the license, that would have to be agreed with the police and the licensing authority when they can operate it. It doesn't it won't necessarily be up until closing. It won't necessarily be subject to what they agree in terms of where the location is of the pickup points, etc.
Yeah. Okay, it sounds, Rifat, there's a bit of work to do really around training, around the delivery management plan, just to get your feet off the ground. I mean, are you happy to just go with the existing license at the moment, considering it's an SPA? Because I think the feeling generally from the authorities, myself, and I can't speak for members, but you know, the feeling is that that's what you ought to do at the moment. And then once you do all the training and you work with the police and this and that, and you operate for say a period of 3 months without problems, then you can come back and we can look at it again. How about that?
Yeah,
that's
fine.
absolutely fine.
I just had a question though. Say for example, we haven't been able to negotiate the license, and at that time, so if in the 3-month period we're still not the license holders, would you say we should still wait, or would you say we just try again?
I'll hand you over to our lawyer for that one, Amanda.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I do think that as long as they should try to demonstrate their compliance with conditions, etc., for as long as possible. I think 3 months is probably a very short period. What I was going to ask, Chair, is through the Chair to ask whether or not PC Griggs could confirm whether or not his premises would be, if they can apply for TENS to have additional hours and to demonstrate maybe through TENS. I don't know if that's advisable in this particular case or not, to see if that would work for them to show that their compliance of operating responsibly beyond their hours.
Yeah, TENS are obviously a way forward. Again, I can sit and have a chat through temporary event notices and what to do and how we can look at them and how they can be used. Perhaps when we sit down and have a conversation, if we try and get something in for next week, because I'm actually off this week, if we could do something for next week, perhaps sit down and go through Rifat and Hiba. That sounds like a good plan, and we can sit and go through and how you can use temporary event notices to temporarily extend your hours over a weekend.
Yeah.
Just to start getting a bit of a track record of using that as well, and how we could do things. But yeah, I'm happy to sit down and say sooner rather than later and go through all of that with you.
Yeah, thank you, PC Griggs. I mean, just Rifat, just to clarify, I mean, there is a presumption to refuse in the SPA licenses that go, you know, beyond certain core hours, and you're quite well beyond core hours at the moment. So you've got a reasonably good license actually for being an SPA already. I'd just like to bring in Channing here. Channing, you know, I presume you would like to see them stay where they are ultimately, rather than extend, because ultimately, if they do extend, then there would be, you know, cumulative impact, managed or not, if that makes sense. Would you just like to come in and comment on that?
Yes, Chair. Our view is that the license should probably stay the same until they demonstrate a track record of operating in the area successfully. Given the discussions that have happened up to now, it does raise a few questions about the familiarity with the license in the area that the management team have. And obviously there's still this relationship with Mr. Salmon, and whether this is going to be, are they going to be the licensees, or is he going to be licensee? You know, that still needs to be resolved as well. So
Yep.
I think there's a few things they need to resolve before they possibly come back to the committee to seek extended hours. I think for the time being, what's been suggested in terms of demonstrate compliance with the current license, and then possibly use the submission of temporary event notices to show that you can demonstrate extended hours, that would put them in a better position than they are now. Because right now, we still don't really have the confidence to say, well, yes, you can have those hours, and we're confident that it won't be a harm within the SPA.
Yeah. So the key thing really for the new management team is to basically manage it well, be informed through your training, don't cause any issues, and then you can come back and ask for further hours, but you have to prove that you would not add to the impact down there. That's the key thing. So all measures in place would have to prove to us that you'd be able to manage it all very well, there'd be no problems. So that's your kind of would be your aim, really. I mean, 3 months, 6 months, 6 months better for you, Amanda, as a time period?
Chair, I think 6 months is a reasonable time, but it does depend on how things progress.
Yeah.
So I would say that both that the current management team should consult, informally maybe with the police and the licensing authority to see whether or not they feel that's a reasonable time when they decide to apply again in the future.
Okay.
But they shouldn't do it too quickly, because otherwise that would not give enough time for an assessment to be made.
Yeah. And members, any further questions at all?
No, Chair, just a comment to say thank you to Rifat and for explaining everything so clearly, and to let you know that I'm very fond of falafel. So I really
welcome anytime.
I am really hoping that, and urging you to have a good working relationship with the responsible authorities, and wishing you well for the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Sousa-Ringer. Councillor Root?
I'll echo what Sheila's just said.
You're more than welcome to.
Okay, great. Well, I think we can move off the discussion phase now and move into closing remarks. So I will ask the responsible authorities and other person to come in with their closing remarks. So let's start off with PC Griggs.
Thank you, Chair. I think as I've discussed it already, just to say that I do think a longer period of you guys running the venue to give a bit of a track record, and we'll get everything in place going forward, so to have a better application and everything already for later application, perhaps in a few months' time when we've got that track record. But yeah, I think at the moment you just need to concentrate on what you're doing, and we'll get everything in place going forward.
Fantastic. And Channing from our licensing authority?
Nothing really further to add, Chair, just to echo what PC Griggs has added. We'd like to see a track record, probably a delivery management plan, and hopefully the issue with the licensee and the management resolved as to who's the actual licensee operator of the premises. And then if they come back with a good track record, showing that they can actually operate in a way that promotes the licensing objectives, then we'd probably be much more amenable to some sort of extension.
Yeah. Okay.
And after that, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Channing, for that. Rifat, I hope you're making notes there. There's a lovely little list of things that Channing's just mentioned. Just keep them in your head. So it's your turn now for your closing remarks.
Yeah, no, just wanted to say thank you to everyone for your comments. We've taken them on board. We've written them down here as well. So we will definitely work towards it. And PC Griggs will be in contact with you in regards to the training that you mentioned earlier, and we can make a start on that as well. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. I think we've got somewhere with this today. So thank you to all involved for all your ideas. All very welcome, all very good. So thank you. You guys can now leave, and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Take care. Unless, of course, anybody needs a comfort break at this stage. If you do, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, happy to carry on? Great. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is Crank Brothers. And I shall ask the Acting Principal Licensing Officer, Mr. David Tuitt, to come in and outline the report, please. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, can I just interrupt for a second? I'm not sure that we've got all the parties necessary.
Romain Bugel. Is Romain Bugel on the call?
We are a few minutes early, Chair. We did actually ask them to arrive at 3.
Oh, did we?
So, yeah.
Okay, what
So,
time is it now? 5:02.
It's 5:02.
Should we take a 5-minute comfort break then?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. If everyone's agreed, we'll take a 5-minute comfort break if that's okay with everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. See you in 5 minutes. Cheers. Okay. That's our 5 minutes comfort break. Just waiting for people to come back on the call.
Hello, Anna. I'm on the committee at the minute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I think we'll maybe just go around the virtual room again and very quickly introduce ourselves, since this is a new item. I'm Councillor Smith, Chair of Licensing, and also Councillor Stoke Newington. I'm chairing today's meeting. Councillor Root.
Hello, I'm Penny Root, councillor for Victoria Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Susan Runga.
I'm Sheila Susarunga, councillor for Hackney Central Ward.
Fantastic. Amanda. You there? And let's do Mr. Chewett.
Hi, I'm David Chewett. I'm team leader, licensing and technical support, and I'll be presenting the report today.
Thank you very much. Rabia.
Hello, my name's Rabia. I'm the governance officer.
Thank you, Rabia. And then we have Councillor Kennedy observing today. Councillor Kennedy, would you like just to come in briefly and introduce yourself? Thank you.
Councillor Chris Kennedy, Hackney Wick Ward, just observing today as part of my training as a new member of the Licensing Committee.
Thank you very much. And we have Kieran.
Hi, Kieran Clancy. I'm director of Crank Brother Limited, which is the applicant.
Thank you very much, Kieran. And then we have Mick.
Afternoon, everybody. Mick Bowles. I'm the event safety manager for Crank Brother.
Okay, thank you very much. That's great. Have I missed anybody? Got everything. Mario does our IT. Thank you, Mario. And we've got Philip.
Hello, I'm Philip Kratz. I'm speaking on behalf of a number of objectors.
Okay, thank you very much, Philip, for that. So I think we've got everyone there, apart from Amanda. Amanda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Chair. I don't know what's happened to my camera, so I do apologise, but I am here.
Would you like to just introduce yourself very briefly?
Yes, sorry. My name's Amanda North. I'm from Legal Services supporting members this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, so you're all familiar with the hearing procedure, I presume? Yeah, just nod. So we don't have to go through that again. Great. Thank you very much. So I would like to call upon the Acting Principal Licensing Officer, Mr. David Chewett, to outline the report. Amanda.
Sorry, Chair. Just to sort of adjust my camera, I don't know what's happened to it. I need to just leave the meeting for a minute and come back in. So I need to go out.
Do you want us to wait for a minute then?
Yes, yes. Would you? Sorry, I do apologise. Unless you want to proceed.
No, it's okay. Well, if everyone's okay, we're happy to wait for a minute. It's fine.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
So just ask everyone to take a deep breath and just be patient.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, that'd be great. So if I could ask Mr. Chewett to come in and outline the report, please. David.
Thank you, Chair. So item 7 is an application for a premises license received from Crank Brother Limited. This premises is for a section of land, Clifton Street between Worship Street, Scotland Street, and Hollywell Road between Stratton Street and Worship Street. The application seeks to authorise under Licensing Act Section 17 live music, recorded music, performances of dance, and to authorise the supply of alcohol for consumption on the premises from 12 midday to 10 p.m. For one Saturday between May and September each year with those event timings. We received representations from the environmental enforcement team, which withdrew their representation following agreement conditions. We do have outstanding representations from other persons who will be speaking at today's meeting. And that's it, Chair. Thank you. That concludes my introduction.
Wow, it's 1 minute, Mr. Chewett. It's fantastic. Okay. So I've got the applicant now, unless members have got any points of clarification at this point. No,
no, not at this point. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So I've got the applicant. Is it Romain Bugel or Philip? Philip, are you going to be speaking today? Or no, you're the other person.
I'm on the other side. Yeah.
No, actually, it'll be me, Kieran Clancy.
Okay, so Kieran, so Romain Bugel, who was supporting Danny Clancy, Kieran Clancy, and Mick Bowles, is no longer speaking today. Is that right?
Yeah, she's my assistant, so it'll be me that's speaking.
Okay, so do you want to fire away? Then you've got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah. So as the committee will know, we've provided a written response to the rep.
Could everyone mute, please, because there's a bit of feedback there. Apart from Kieran.
I think it's Philip who's got his microphone on because we can hear his phone call.
Yeah, sorry, Kieran. There was a bit of interference there, so I think it's gone quiet now. So off you go.
So as the committee will know, we provided a written response to the representations received, which is included in the committee pack. I intend to provide a brief summary of that response, and with colleagues, we'll be able to answer any questions you have. This application is for a new premises licence for a one-day event per year at Clifton Street between Worship Street and Scrofton Street, and Hollywell Road between Scrofton Street and Worship Street. The committee will be aware from the papers that we already hold a premises licence for an event on one day per year at the other end of Clifton Street, a site which is around 100 metres away and separated from the location of the current application by Worship Street. The specific location for this application is important, as it appears that both of the representations received relate to the location of the existing premises licence and are not related to the location proposed for this application. Crank Brother have been operating events for around 15 years and have been operating licensed street parties at these locations in Hackney since 2012, with very few complaints from the local area and very positive feedback from the local authorities. The events feature international DJs, and the audience is predominantly people aged 25 to 35-year-olds from the Greater London area, with a large number from the Borough of Hackney and surrounding boroughs. The event capacity is 1,500 people per event. The events operate from 1 p.m. till 10 p.m. and the build and de-rig take place immediately before and after the event in a 19-hour time window. The events themselves are for ticket holders only, with access controlled by means of perimeter fencing and security staff. On-site infrastructure includes toilets, bars and catering outlets. Management services at the event include a medical team, crowd management and security staff, and an event safety manager. The events feature a single sound system under the control of sound engineers, solely employed by the premises licence holder. Sound technicians and a community liaison manager monitor the noise levels off-site and respond to any calls received on a complaints line. The site and surrounding area is kept clean during the event by a team of litter pickers who we employ. And post-event, the site and surrounding area is cleaned by London Borough of Hackney contractors paid by us. As the committee will recognise, the Clifton Street area mostly consists of office properties which operate on a weekday basis. And this is why the streets are extensively used for location, film and TV shooting, and why we have chosen these event sites in the area. When we received representations, we re-surveyed the area and still found no evidence of usage of buildings in this area on Saturdays. We have included some photos of this in the pack you received. In any case, we have a track record of successfully engaging with residents to facilitate and access and minimise disruption. In previous years, we have mail-shotted local businesses in advance of the event, and this provides event info, details of the complaints line phone number, and alerts for properties to contact us to allow for any access requests to be facilitated. It is our intention to do the same in the future, and we're obviously happy to engage directly with any premises which believes it may be impacted by our event. This application is clearly within the licensing policy and reflects the previous engagement with the responsible authorities and local businesses. The application has received no representations from the Metropolitan Police or the noise control teams or nuisance teams or any other responsible authorities. 2 representations from other persons were received, one from a premises in the locality of our existing premises licence, the Christopher Dysart Street end of the Clifton Street, and one from a law firm presumably representing that premises. We provided an analysis of the reps in the papers provided, but as both reps have confused the location of the event application, despite the clear and unambiguous description of the location in the application, it's unclear to us whether these should even be considered as valid representations. Both representations mention concerns over access to their properties, but these concerns relate to access at the Christopher Street, Dysart Street end of Clifton Street and not to this location. This application should be permitted as Crank Brother has a track record of successfully staging events in this area with low impact on local community, positive engagement with the responsible authorities, and demonstrable responsiveness to issues and concerns when they do arise. That's the end of my introduction.
Perfect. Good timing. 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Amazing.
Thank you.
Good time. Great. Okay, so members, would you like to come in at this point with any point of clarification? Both content at the moment? Councillor Suzarunga?
I just wanted to ask about the map. The map was very useful, but you've got two. One, the diagram of the streets has a sort of orangey red marking, and it's the one that's got the bigger amount of orangey red marking is the relevant one. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the one on the left hand.
It's the one on the left. Yes.
Yeah,
that's
Crank
the
Brother Clifton Street,
yes.
site 2. Yeah.
That's the one that we're talking about today. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I suppose, Kieran, there's one point of clarification I'd like to ask is that you've got an existing license for that other area. I mean, just to put the other person's minds at rest, I presume you're planning not to embark upon using that. Is that right?
The existing premises license is being used. Yeah, it is being used.
Okay, and is that for 1 or 2 days in the year?
It's for 1 day in the year.
1 day in the year on that side, and then 1 day in the year on this other side.
This side, yeah.
Okay. Mick, you put your hand up.
Yeah, just to clarify, so the dates are completely separate dates. It isn't the idea that the site runs concurrently.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, we have this in front of us, and this is what we shall consider. Okay. So, Philip, you would be B1. You're representing other persons, and I've got B2 as well, which I don't believe they're here. Initials AG. Is that correct, Rabia? Not here. Not here. Okay. Just to remind you, Philip, and I'm not teaching you how to suck eggs here, but representation should be made in line with the 4 licensing objectives, and where possible, repetition should be avoided. Points made that do not relate to the licensing objectives cannot be taken into consideration when making a decision. And you know what the licensing objectives are, Philip, I'm sure. I don't need to go through them. So you've got your 5 minutes. Off you go.
Thank you very much. Can all members hear me?
Yep.
Yep, good. I want to contextualize my comments on the 4 licensing objectives, and we're going to do that by reference to the material provided by the applicant. The actual application form makes it clear that the premises application is a temporary 1-day event space for 2,000 persons, and that's on the application form. And yet in the material circulated today, they talked about an event for 1,500 people. So immediately there's some diversity between what's applied for and what's being described in the representations. The next problem is and I'm contextualizing what I'm going to say, the events themselves, because although there are 2 separate, if you like, locations, they're both, of course, on His Majesty's Highway, and whilst the events are taking place, nobody can use the highway. One of them, 2 events are coming up. One of them, obviously, in anticipation of this license being granted today. They're on the 15th of June and the 17th of July. Now, despite what's been said, my 14-year-old niece had absolutely no trouble purchasing tickets for the events. And when looking and drilling down on the Crank Brother website for the events, when they finish at the unduly early hour of 10 o'clock, the websites, and sorry, I'm just visiting one of the websites now. It says we were never going to let the party finish at 10 p.m. After the daytime street party, we'll be moving on to our favourite East London venue, which is less than 5 minutes walk away. And it's a place called the Village Underground, for those that are familiar with it.
Sorry, Philip, can I just stop you there 1 second?
Yep.
I'll stop the clock as well. It's just Amanda wants to come in very briefly. Sorry.
Mr. Pratt, with due respect, we don't really allow participants to read off the internet whilst they're in the meeting. So I do appreciate you needed to read it because that's what it said, but if you could just complete quickly or not use
I
the
will. Yeah.
Your
Well,
representation.
after this event has finished, the 1,500 people who are there who have had access to alcohol all day from midday on to 10 o'clock in the evening will be moving on to an after party at the Village Underground where the event continues till 4 o'clock in the morning. So there will not be a natural dispersing of the people at 10 o'clock going in every direction, around the clock. They will be going en masse. I presume the promoter wishes to go to the other venue. And I say this colours the picture because, and I'm moving on now to the representations on the actual licensing principles. The prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Because a child, somebody under 18, can go on the website and purchase a ticket, there is no obstruction to that. There's no immediate protection of children from harm because it will require, after the event, intervention. The public nuisance, there's going to be a sound system in the street where I act for 5 different organisations. It's admitted that 4 of them are at the other end, the end of the original licence, the existing licence, but 1 is at the other end, and the noise is intolerable. One of my clients operates an entertainment venue, and whilst this event is going on, even if it's at the furthest end, today's licence application, the noise nuisance makes it virtually impossible to carry on. The prevention of the use of the highway for highway purposes, and it will require a separate closure of the highway outside of this licensing application, means that safe, convenient access to and from my client's premises is impeded, and this in turn has a knock-on effect on public safety and also creates an atmosphere where there is a genuine fear of crime and disorder because there are that many people attending an event on a street.
Yeah. 30 seconds, Philip.
The culmination of all of those things means that there is a cumulative impact of these licenses. There already is potentially 1 a year, and my clients will live and let live with that. 2 a year in the same general vicinity, and it's slightly away, just creates an intolerable impact on their day-to-day lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip. So I'd like to invite members to come in with your questions and queries, please. Thank you. Councillor Susa-Runga.
Thank you. I think this is to Kieran. Just following on from what's been said, can you give us a bit more detail about crowd management in respect of, throughout the day, people will be coming, not everybody's going to arrive at once and not everybody's going to leave at once. So there may be a longer period of time when crowd management needs to be well focused. So could you give us a little bit more detail about that, please? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We've obviously been operating similar events to this on our other licensed sites since 2012. So we've got a lot of experience in crowd management for this capacity of people. But what we do is we sell tickets for arrival at different times to make sure that you don't have sort of 1,500 people turning up en masse and creating a long queue. So we sell tickets that you have to enter the venue by 2 p.m. and then another one where you have to enter by 3 p.m. and another by 4 p.m. So it's staggered. So we don't tend to have an issue with people arriving en masse.
Thank you, and that's really helpful. What about when people leave? Obviously, you can't stagger it in the same way, So how do you manage dispersal of people when the event is finished? That would be helpful. Thank you, Kieran.
We have very good signposting to the local rail stations. We have stewarding assisting people to go in the direction of the major travel hubs. But given this is a fairly central location with some really big travel hubs that are still open at that time of the evening, we've never sort of experienced any major issues in people dispersing from the event. They've got a lot of options in terms of sort of London Underground, London Overground, taxis, bus routes. Everything's still open at the time of egress, and 1,500 people going into sort of central Shoreditch on a Saturday night. Although it sort of sounds like a lot of people in the context of the amount of people that are sort of in that area at that time of night, and considering that they don't sort of walk through any residential areas, we've never had complaints as regards the egress procedure. They sort of disperse very quickly. It also doesn't tend to be everyone leaving at the end. It sort of naturally egresses from about 7 p.m. onwards.
Okay, Mick, do you want to come in, elaborate a bit on this?
Yeah, if that's okay. I just wanted to put members' minds at rest in terms of the process for entry to the event. It may well be that Mr. Kratz's niece is able to buy a ticket, but she hasn't satisfied the ID checks that are required in order to actually enter the venue. So the security teams at the front door, who are SIA approved contractors, they work for a company called Showsec International. We run 2 levels of checks. The first is the ID check for age and to check that against ticket holders. And the second one then is a bag search, and depending on weather and clothing, there may also be a second kind of pat down search as well, where we're looking predominantly for unauthorized things, so glass bottles and things like that. But it also serves as a drugs and weapons check as well. Again, given the audience profile, which is not an older audience and an established kind of clientele for the event, there hasn't been any issues involving public order in the past, but it's still something we're mindful of, and so we'll conduct those searches. But just to reiterate, just because you can buy a ticket from a website, that doesn't mean you get entry to the event.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Mick. Councillor Root.
I had a question for Mr. Kratz, and forgive me if I missed this, if he's already told us this. I just wonder how many local residents he's representing, and what sort of local residents they are. I mean, are they predominantly businesses, or are they local individuals? Sorry, that's my phone. I'll switch it off. Yeah, so that's all really. Just a little bit more information about how many and what sort of clients he's representing.
Philip, do you want to come in there?
Sorry, can members hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I'm acting for 5 different clients, 4 of whom are businesses and 3 of whom are in the hospitality business.
Okay. Happy with that, Councillor Root? Yep. Okay, well, I'll come in with some observations. That's okay with members, unless members have got anything pressing. So I like the fact you've got a first aid post, Kieran and Mick. That's very good. Looking at medical stuff. I like the fact you've got the welfare and vulnerability aspect going on. A welfare officer would be good. And I'm particularly thinking about, sexual harassment, misogyny, violence against women and girls. I would recommend the Ask Angela scheme as well, that all your bar staff are trained around that. And welfare and vulnerability, bit of welfare and vulnerability training as well for staff at the event, because we know that, that those issues could arise. On the crowd management thing, you mentioned competent persons or competent person. Can you explain what you mean by a competent person, please? Either Mick or Kieran, either one.
So I've got the key operational role in terms of event safety, which includes directing the crowd management operation. So I hold a non-frontline SIA license. I have a degree in crowd safety management, and I've been doing this for about 30 years now for my sins. At large-scale events, 30,000 plus. So, and plus some general health and safety qualifications, so some NEBOSH qualifications. So, you know, when we talk about competent persons, we mean the strict legal definition of training plus experience.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's very reassuring, Mick. Thank you for that. I'm sure you do a great job. And I was also like the idea of this community liaisons officer that you mentioned. And that ties in with the hotline number as well. So the community liaison person, is that the hotline number that goes straight to them if there's a problem, or how does that work?
Sorry, Gilbert. Sorry, Gilbert. You broke up for a minute there, but I think I got the general gist of it.
I can repeat it. I can repeat it.
No, I think I got the general gist of it. I mean, we have a general community liaison person that's contactable in advance through our community liaison email. On the day, we have a hotline that goes to the site office essentially. So any complaints go direct to the site office because they're the quickest people to then talk to sound engineers who can then go and take measurements to make sure we're not exceeding what we've laid out in the noise management plan. Or whatever the complaint might be, they can react the quickest, basically. So we have sort of one person who deals with queries in advance, and then we've always found it more effective on event day that it goes straight to the site office because they're part of the event control team.
Yeah, and this one's to Mick. Just on the searching, Mick, on the way in, there was no mention of a metal detector, and a metal detector may be useful. What's your feeling about that?
So it's not Archie's, but it's the team have ones, and again, it's right. You know, it's subject to kind of risk assessment, threat assessment on the front gate, and again, you know, to a certain extent, we're driven by the weather and what people are wearing. We advise people only to bring A4 size bags, so again, we're cutting down on kind of bulky luggage and things like that. But we have handhelds available.
Right. And so when would they be used? I mean, if you were to assess the risk, what sort of thing would you be looking for in order to use one of those?
So there's two elements to it. One is if we've got any particular intel, if the police have shared anything about, you know, kind of groups that they may be concerned about, if we have anything that reaches us via socials. And again, to a certain extent, it's whether people are, you know, kind of heavily clothed when it's unsuitable, you know, the kind of behavioural detection things where then we may think we'll just run a metal detector over people, or people don't want, you know, people for whatever reason don't particularly want to do a pat down search. Then for some people, it may be more appropriate that we'll use a metal detector wand.
Yeah, because I presume if it's a really hot day, you know, people might maybe coming, you know, lightly clothed or whatever, so it may not be sort of
exactly that. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's it. And my last one, sorry, bear with me, members. I don't want to hog it. Is back to the access that Philip was talking about. You know, kind of businesses and residents having access to their properties or not access. And we need reassurance that they will be able to have access to their premises for the whole period of the event. Can you give us that reassurance?
We absolutely can, and we've at all our events that we've done previously at the other end of Clifton Street, we've always worked with local businesses to allow them access during the event. That's never been restricted. So we absolutely can guarantee that.
Yeah, and then just one last thing is just the idea that you're open to extending your welfare and vulnerability element, and that you're willing to have the Ask Angela scheme. Your staff
100% actually. We've got a series of festivals in Finsbury Park that we run every year, and we've worked quite closely with Haringey Council on implementing this very policy last year and this year. So the Ask Angela is a scheme that we're already training our
because we've been noticing in general, I mean, the authority and the police and others, that there's a big bit of a rise in misogynistic behaviour out there.
I agree.
And I think we just need to keep an eye on that. So all
100%.
staff working at the event just need to be aware of that. So that's cool. Councillor Susan Runge.
Thank you, Chair. This is a question, I think, to Mick or Kieran, if you don't mind. Thank you. You've explained the setup and the event and the D-rig, and you've mentioned access in respect of businesses and residents getting to their pedestrians getting to their premises. And you mentioned creating walkways using HIRAS type temporary fencing. Could you explain HIRAS to me? And does this system accommodate those people who are wheelchair bound people or people who have mobility issues of any sort? If you could give me a bit more detail on that, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
So yeah, so HIRAS fencing. It's a bit like when you talk about Hoovers. It's a generic name for the temporary kind of open mesh fencing that you'll see at building sites and round events. So it's freestanding. It has feet that the fence panels stand into, and basically you can create a walkway to give access to premises by moving that away from, to create a space. And again, you can create a space with whatever footprint you need to, whether that's for wheelchair access or not, simply by the location of the fencing. It's easily deployed, which is why we use it in this situation, because obviously, time's of the essence. It's sufficiently robust to protect the perimeters for this kind of event, but it's also easily moved if you need to maintain access, if you need to give emergency access to a premises or anything like that. So it's, it serves two purposes. It's great to use to secure perimeters, but also it's really easy to move if we need to. And it's simply laid out on the day based on premises that have asked for access, where we create a walkway. And again, if we need to create access for wheelchair users, it's simply the case of making that space slightly bigger.
Thank you, because you are talking about a 19-hour period, which is quite long. That's almost a day. and so my concern was that if there was any such issues or emergency access required, which would be something that you don't necessarily plan for, that can be facilitated appropriately and in a very timely fashion.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just kind of talk about that a little bit. So the overall time that we're on site is about 19 hours. But we don't, the event footprint is only finally in place for the actual licensed hours, which is from 1 till 10 o'clock. So if you arrived at 6 a.m. in the morning to watch us commence the build, we would use temporary traffic management barriers to close the road to protect the workforce building the stage. There wouldn't be access prevented to premises or to property at that stage. It's only for that shorter window when we've actually got the licensed event take place and we need to manage capacity on site. And the same thing post-event. Once the licensed event finishes, we move the kind of, if you like, the hard fencing out of the way to start clearing the site. And then we have the temporary road closures, which we agree with Hackney to protect the workforce.
Thank you. That's really helpful, because I think it's important that we know these details, because this is something, maybe it's implicit, but at the same time I like to hear the explicit explanation. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
No, that's no problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Susan Runge. Okay, members, I mean, we've had, just over 15 minutes on this discussion. Do members have any further questions or points you'd like to raise?
I think that our questions have been answered pretty clearly, actually, and in some detail. I'm just a bit curious at this stage what if any outstanding objections Mr. Kratz has got, so that we might perhaps be able to just address them head on, as it were, with while we're all still in the discussion phase.
Yeah, that's good, Mr.
Thank you,
Kratz.
Mr.
Just
Chairman.
wait for a second. Amanda, you had your hand up there. Amanda had her hand up first. Just 1 second.
Yes. Councillor Root actually just effectively said what I was going to say to ask, which is following any of the representations that have been made by the applicant.
Okay.
Has Mr. Kratz got any? Has he been able to, resolve any of his objections following what's been said? That was all I was going to say, which is the same.
Yeah. I mean, we could sort of move into closing remarks, I think, in a sense, couldn't we? And maybe try and resolve things within that box, if that's good. So should we do that? Let's go to closing remarks and start off Mr. Kratz.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to do that. During the course of the 15 minutes discussion, the applicant has mentioned 1,500 people attending, whereas the application form suggests 2,000. If it's 1,500, I'm happy for the licence to regulate that and to provide for that figure. Again, 2 minutes ago, Kieran mentioned 1 o'clock till 10 o'clock. The application is for 12 noon till 10 o'clock. If it's 1 p.m. till 10 o'clock, we'll be happier than if it's 12 noon till 10 o'clock. And say that was just was said. The unresolved issues revolve around noise, and there will be considerable noise from the sound systems, and that's not only for this license but for the other one as well. And that's added to by the cumulative impact. You may recall this was before the committee a month or two ago, when there was an attempt to vary the premises license, but we all decided it was a different set of premises. Now, what's happened now is, as I explained, there are 2 events within roughly a month, and they're very close to each other, and there is a cumulative impact from that. Allied to that is the public disorder issue, because I'm afraid the 1,500 people attending are likely not to be going on to the public transport system at 10 o'clock. They'll be moving on to Village Underground, where they'll continue the party until 4 a.m. And with the best will in the world, the shepherding of 1,500 people who have already been at an event for 10 hours for 5 or 10 minutes around the corner is going to cause the sort of problems that you sometimes see on the tube at 8 o'clock in the morning. So there will be public order issues arising from it. So from the objector's point of view, the objections are not resolved. There is a license in place for the other end of Clifton Street. We would much rather that was rescinded in return for this license, and perhaps allow 2 events on this license a year, because I don't suppose it makes much difference to the applicant whether the 2 events are held 100 yards or whatever it is apart or not. So we think that there are unresolved mitigation issues that have not been properly addressed, that leave outstanding issues which relate directly to the 4 principles of licensing.
Okay, thank you, Philip, for that. I'd like to bring in Mr. Tuitt now, please, for your closing remarks. David, just responding to everything that you've heard.
Responding remarks, Chair. Apologies, I've presented the reports today.
Yeah. Okay.
There was no objection from licensing. There was no objection from licensing.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, David. Kieran. You closing remarks?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly come back on Philip's remarks. And in terms of the capacity, the confusion there is that it's 2,000 capacity, including staff. So it's 1,500 tickets sold, but we allow the extra capacity so that we're not over our capacity, including staff. In practice, we probably don't have 500 people running the event. It's probably a couple of hundred less than that. But the reason it's there is just to give us some flexibility in terms of the staffing of the event. In terms of the public disorder comments, I don't really think that's supported by any evidence. We've been doing events at the other end of Clifton Street for 10 years now, If there were significant public order offences going on, we would have had several representations from licensing, from the Metropolitan Police, from the ambulance service for this license, and we haven't. We just haven't had any public order event instances in 10 years of street events, and that's why we're not seeing any representations from responsive authorities. I also sort of don't really understand the kind of point about there being an event at a separate license venue later on in the evening, and how that kind of has any bearing on this license application. Again, that's something that's been going on for 10 years. Village Underground is the licensed venue, and we're having a separate event there in the evening, but it's not connected to this application. But just the closing remarks, I'm obviously very happy to work with any of the local businesses, and I have done over the last 10 years, and I've actually got a very good relationship with 8 Members Club, who I think is Philip Kratz's main client, and we actually had a meeting with them last week about one of our other street events at the other location. So it's a very amicable, sort of positive working relationship, and we'll continue to work in that way with any sort of local businesses or stakeholders.
Okay, thank you, Kieran. And Mick, maybe a couple of minutes for you.
Yeah, just really to echo Kieran's point. I appreciate Mr. Kratz's client's concerns on the noise, but again, it's not supported by the evidence of staging the events there in the past, of lack of representations, lack of complaints either to us directly or to environmental health. So I don't want to sound complacent about it, but I think we have a pretty well-run setup in a model that works in a location that, insofar as it's possible to stage events in a city that, have little disruption, that's certainly, based on the objective evidence of complaints to the authorities, that is the case. That's what we've been operating. And, we won't rest on our laurels, and we'll continue to work at it. And certainly comments in terms of the welfare aspects, we'll gladly take on board, because it is about trying to operate as well as we can. And again, the numbers, whilst 1,500 is a reasonable number of people in one location, given the proximity to Liverpool Street and other kind of parts of the nighttime economy, the dispersal is super quick and super orderly. But we'll continue to manage that. So that's it, really. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think that's pretty good. I think any points of final clarification at this point, members, at all?
No points of clarification. Thank you.
All good. Councillor Root, happy?
Yes, I'm happy. Thanks.
Yep, brilliant. Okay, I think we can round up this part of the agenda. So thank you for everyone attending. We've had a good discussion. We know what all the issues are, and we will go away and make our decision. So thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Mick. You can now leave the call, and hope you go on to have a good rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Great. Okay, so we can.
Chair, before we go on, can I just double check with Councillor Susurunga that she's okay to continue into the next application?
Yes, thank you, Amanda. It's fine. It's only 4:45. It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are we expecting the other one to start at 4?
Yes. I mean, unless Radler, are you able to contact the parties to ask them to join earlier at all?
Can't hear you, Councillor Root.
Sorry,
everybody. I was just thinking, if we stopped recording for 15 minutes, we might be able to discuss these two and get them out of the way.
Oh yes, we could actually. Yes, we could take a break. Yeah, we could adjourn until 4 if you want, and then do those two decisions if you want to. Shall we do that?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
that seems to make sense.
Okay, all right, then we'll do that then. So we'll allow everyone else to have a break, and we'll shall we ask them to leave, or do you want to join the other meeting?
Shall we join the pre-meeting?
Yes, yeah, that would be fine. Yes.
I'll rejoin this
Join
meeting
the
at 3.
meeting. Yeah.
Okay, David.
Yes,
Then
that
we'll
would be
come
fine.
back at 4.
All right.
Yes. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thanks. Bye.
There's Councillor Susan Runga. Councillor Root, waiting for her. There's Mr. Tuitt. And there's Councillor Root. Fantastic. So I think we've got everyone. So welcome, Max. We will be in the call there since 2 o'clock. But Max, we'll just go around the room, virtual room, very briefly, just to introduce ourselves quickly. So I'm Councillor Smith. I'm Chair of Licensing and also Councillor Stoke Newington. Councillor Root.
Penny Root, Councillor for Victoria Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Susan Runga.
Sheila Sousa Runga, Councillor for Hackney Central Ward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kennedy, if you'd like to just tell us why you're here.
Councillor Kennedy, I'm member for Hackney Wick Ward. I'm joining the licensing committee, so I'm listening in as part of my training.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we have Mr. Tuitt.
Hi, I'm David Tuitt, Team Leader, Licensing and Technical Support, and I will be presenting the reports today.
Fantastic, thank you. And Rabia?
My name's Rabia Khatun. I'm the Governance Officer.
Thank you, Rabia. And Amanda?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry, Amanda North, Solicitor from Legal Services, assisting members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have Mario on the call as well. Mario does our IT, so thank you, Mario, for that. And then obviously we've got Max, you're the applicant, we know that. Max, would you like me to go through the hearing procedure? Would that be helpful for you? Did you hear it at the start? I don't think you...
I think it's okay to us. I've read the I read what's been said over previously. I've actually done one of these before, so I'm kind of relatively familiar with what will happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes or no? Do you want me to go through it or not?
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory. So let's invite the Principal Licensing Officer, Mr. David Tuitt, to outline the report. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for a new premises licence under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The premises to be known as the Quarter Kitchen, which is located within a former information booth in St John's Churchyard, St John at Hackney Church, Lower Clapton Road. The application seeks to authorise the supply of alcohol for consumption on the premises for the hours as listed there, primarily 12 midday to 9 p.m. and on Friday and Saturday 12 midday to 10 p.m. We received representations from responsible authorities, the Environmental Health, Environmental Enforcement Service and the police, but both of those agencies have withdrawn their representations following agreement to conditions. We still, however, do have 2 representations that remain from other persons, which are appended to today's report. Thank you very much, Chair. That concludes my introduction.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Okay, Max, it's your time now to make a submission. You've got 5 minutes to support your application. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I guess just wanted to give a bit of background to the business and why we've applied for the license. Most of this would have been covered in the written submission, but I guess just wanted to go over it. So, so I opened the cafe about a year ago. We're serving Mexican food and specialty coffee. We've developed, I think, a very good reputation for the food and for the coffee. I think built a strong relationship with the local community as well. During weekdays, it's much more sort of local crowd, so we get breakfast and lunch, and then the weekends we're putting a lot of people in off the back of the reputation of food. We're getting a lot of people coming to visit us from further afield. Prior to this, I had a store on Narrowway for a couple of years, which was a bit more of a sort of deli come wine shop come coffee shop. So I had an on and off license there. Hopefully, sort of, over the last 3 years, proven myself to be a responsible business owner and obviously fully aware of some of the challenges of the area. The sort of context of applying for the license is really so that we can, I guess, extend the hours that we can operate into the evenings a little bit. It's obviously a beautiful area. Really want people to be able to enjoy the space. A bit more into the evenings, be able to have a nice drink in the sunshine. The reality is it's most likely to be weekends over the summer months that we are opening later, but have applied for, you know, year round and throughout the week as well, just so that we have the flexibility to be able to do, you know, to operate for a long period if that's we think that's something we want to do. It's also from a business perspective, it's kind of challenging. You know, it's a nice spot, but it's very challenging through the winter. So it's really about us being able to maximize trade throughout this warmer months. I'm sure we'll come on to, I guess, some of the sort of problems in the area, but I would actually strongly contend that our presence there will actually should make the place, you know, bring a bit more life again, I think, to the area, make the area a bit safer with, you know, us having a presence there, people around there a bit later in the evening. I think we have today successfully sort of brought life and kind of regenerated that corner of Hackney quite successfully, and we're just hoping to extend the hours which we can do that. I think the hours that we have applied for are very reasonable, and I think just the last point I'd like to add is, which I obviously would like to make to the objectives who I know on the call as well as councillors, is that, you know, we have a strong reputation. We are hopefully aligned with the objectives and, you know, with yourselves in terms of, you know, wanting to do this in a responsible way that doesn't, you know, damage the reputation we have. You know, we want to do it in a controlled way that means people enjoy the space, enjoy having a drink, but also obviously not at the expense of other users and you know, other customers of ours.
Great, thank you for that. I mean, now it would be other persons, obviously, but they're not here. But members will have read their representations and will be familiar with their representations, as am I. So, members, I'd like to invite you to come in and open up the discussion, please. Councillor Susan Runge.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, in regard to that last point you made, and this is to Max, obviously. So thank you for explaining. And I know that you're in a very nice area because I know exactly where you're situated because I walk past you quite a lot of times. So it's a lovely area. But some of the objections that have been raised were in respect of your closeness to the children's play area that is there, to the graveyard, the church. And people were concerned about any of your lovely customers, you know, maybe spilling over into these areas and what might be the impact on those areas. So could you just speak a little in respect of that?
Yeah,
that
of
would
course.
be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a few different points there. One is the playground, and for me, I could tell it's obviously walled off and it's gated. We're obviously not applying for a license within that area. So the area that we're applying for is a designated area. We're applying for seating only within that area. My expectation, obviously I've applied for the hours I've applied for, to give us flexibility. The reality is we're going to be busier, with people drinking into the evenings when the playground is actually closed. So I guess from my side, I'm not. Yeah, I guess it's. As I said, it seems like quite a separate area. So I'm not, without the objectors being here to sort of speak to it, so I'm not entirely sure exactly what the concerns are with them being such separate areas. But I'm obviously, if it's something that the council you're concerned about, I am open to discussing the hours, especially in the week, the hour we were to have a license. Do you want to discuss that, or like the other? Because I know there are a couple of other points you raised as well there.
Yeah, we'll just try and answer them all if you can, Max.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think just to go through some of the other objections. One was relating to the proximity to the graveyards, which, I guess, with respect to everyone's kind of right to a view on that. They are, many hundreds of years old, and also not entirely sure that relate. Obviously, I guess the main topic of this conversation relates to the licensing objectives. I'm not sure quite the relevance of that towards the licensing objectives. Similarly, proximity to, it's a public area and proximity to walkways. we've applied. It's a designated area. We've applied for the police. Part of that condition so that we put a bit of a barrier to make it clear where the drinking area is. I don't see per se why it being sort of outside and kind of near areas that people walk past a reason that we shouldn't get a license for it.
Thank you, Max, for that.
Thank you. I just wanted to say these are not necessarily my objections. I'm just
I do
responding to the objections that we have received, and just wanted to get a little bit more detailed thought from yourself about them. That's basically it for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sizarunga, and Councillor Root.
Thank you. Yeah, I suppose I wanted to. I mean, I'm not particularly troubled about the graveyard issue, because it does seem to me that the designated area you've got is kind of separate from the graveyard anyway. But my concern is about how you're going to ensure that you keep the people who bought drinks from you in your designated area. What are you thinking of doing to ensure that happens? Particularly if you're operating after dark, because I think it's quite easy for people to slip off and think, oh, we'll just go and sit over on the other side of the graveyard where it's a bit quieter or darker or whatever. So it's a question partly about staffing, how you're going to do it. Also, what sort of signs you might put up to ensure that people know that they're not supposed to move out of the designated area. And to be honest, for me, there is also a bit of an issue about lighting, because that area at the moment is not highly lit at night. I mean, it's lit enough along the walkways, but the little corner where you want to put your tables and chairs is not particularly well lit. And I'm not quite sure that we do want it particularly well lit, you know. So there's a part of me that's thinking, would you consider thinking about having licensing hours which were extended until sunset, so that you basically never had to worry about the dark, because you know you'd sell your last drink at the time that the sun goes down, and then you'd have your drinking up time would be, you know, whenever, and you'd be all cleared up by the time it got dark. Is that anything that would be at all attractive to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I guess there's a couple of points. So one is around how we control it, and I mean, the obvious thing is staffing. So making sure we are fully staffed. So we currently basically throughout the day we do coffee and food. So we'd stop the coffee service at 3 o'clock, as we currently do. Then we'd have enough stuff, like make sure we have enough staff to be able to control, you know, the drinking. We'd you know, when we're selling drinks, we have to make sure that people know that they need to be sat down within the designated area to be drinking it. I've also if required, like I will be getting a member of security as well if we need it, if it's not sort of manageable by, you know, front of house team. Regarding the lighting, yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, realistically, we are unlikely really to be, as I said, I kind of applied for like the maximum that we could possibly want. Realistically, like, we aren't going to be opening late through the winter. This is really mainly a summer thing, kind of summer. Yeah, as you say, kind of whilst it's still light, relatively light, is really what we intend to operate. I think, yeah, I don't necessarily know. Like, I'm sort of, if that's a condition that it's kind of whilst it's still light, I don't know quite how we define that, but I'm kind of open to that.
The Met Office.
Yeah, the Met Office still publish times every day for what time the sun sets. Yeah. So we could have a line where we said last drinks to be served at sunset, and, you know, half drinking up time or something like that. Which
I mean, I think, I guess from my side, it's kind of it's sort of easier to manage, like, you know, from a staffing perspective, from a, you know, sort of information perspective for customers. If we say, you know, it's 9 o'clock or 9:30, rather than, you know, this week it's 9, following week it's 8:45, following week it's 8:30. So I completely get the point. And I'm open to suggestions.
To be honest, I think you might have a problem getting extra lighting in there into that area, because it is a conservation area, And, you know, unless you've already applied for it, I'm not sure you'll get permission to have the additional lighting that you might need in order to be able to sort of police that area properly. And although you said, yes, we'll make sure everybody knows that they have to drink in the designated area, you haven't actually told me anything about how you're going to make sure that they know. So I need to know a bit more about that as well, really.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll certainly be telling people like that they have to be seated. So we'll have tables out. Then when I say seated, I mean at a table rather than kind of on the floor. So making sure that we're telling people that. I think it's quite likely. So currently we kind of serve from the. I don't know if you've seen the photos. There's like a hatch at the front. So currently we serve coffees from the hatch. I think there's a slight element of sort of figuring it out, kind of operationally how it works, you know, for it to go ahead. But I think it's likely that we could do table service so that people, you know, we go out to people, bring their drinks, so that they're sat at the table, taking orders at tables, rather than then sort of coming to us to collect the drinks and then potentially walking off.
So would you be willing to have table service as a condition of the license for alcohol?
I think certainly I'm happy if that means that people can't take the drink from the hatch. I think it's like if table service means they can order at the hatch and then we take it to the table, I'm very happy to do that. It would get a bit complicated just because the way we currently do it is that everyone, you know, throughout the day people are ordering their coffees from the hatch, and I think there'll be a sort of crossover period where I think service will get very complicated. But I'm very happy if it was that you wanted us to take the drinks out to people. That
Could we maybe clarify that with David? David, could table service mean that people could order at the hatch and then have their drinks delivered to their table? Is that one way that table service as a condition could work?
I think so. I think it could work that way. You might have to be specific in the condition if you're minded to grant it, and you want to attach that as a condition. Might have to be quite specific, just so it's clear.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm done for the time being.
Okay, my turn now. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, so how many staff do you think you might have, Max? Or you might need?
Yeah, so at the moment, we have, when I say staff, we have sort of chefs in the kitchen and we have front of house staff. So it's kind of more think about the front of house staff. So at the moment, we during the weekends, which I guess is kind of our busier time, we'll have basically 2 chefs. We've got a designated sort of front of house, and then we have a barista. We, as I said, will almost certainly close off the coffee machine at 3 o'clock. And then if we were to be serving alcohol, we'd have at least 2 front of house staff members. So that'd be
okay.
Taking orders, taking drinks out, clearing tables, you know, speaking to customers.
Okay.
And if it's, you know, if we need more to make it, you know, more controlled, then I'm very happy to get more.
And how many tables are you planning, and with seats? So how many heads and how many tables? That makes sense.
Yeah. So currently, we have, so on the, I don't know if you've seen the diagram. So based on the paved area, every day we put out, it's basically 4 tables of 4 and then 4 tables of 2.
Yeah, I just need a total number for
yeah, I'm doing the maths. I'm doing the maths in my head. Yes, I think it's 24 on the paved area, and then we have currently put out an extra 4 tables, which can seat up to 6. It's kind of the very, very maximum we have at the moment is 48. That's if like there's literally someone sat at every single seat. We may want to extend that a little bit, possibly, if that's, but you know, I'd imagine like 60 is probably the maximum that we'd be sort of realistically looking at.
Okay, that's good to know. 2 staff, maximum of 60 seats. And what offer in terms of alcohol are you considering selling?
Sure. So ideally we'd be looking at beer, wine, and potentially some like pre-made cocktails.
Beer and wine. Did you say cocktails?
Yeah, but yeah, potentially some like pre-mixed cocktails.
Okay. Did you know that St. John's has a brewery, don't you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we were speaking to them about getting their beer in.
And yeah, that was my other point. So how does just very briefly, how does the lease work? Is that are you leasing it off the church?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so you lease up what the premises and that bit of land off the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that whole churchyard is owned by the church. The cafe, the church is our landlord essentially.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then
they've signed off on everything before you even applied for the license.
Brilliant. And then the last one, my last question is about toilets. If you've got say you've got 60 people out there drinking, do you think the toilets would be adequate to serve all those people?
It's a good question. I'd hope so. As I said, I in the submission there are public toilets at the entrance of the park, but yeah, we're very happy to give access to the toilet we have in the building as well.
Yeah, because that's quite important. I mean, the other thing that's also been mentioned by Councillor Susarunga and Councillor Root is trying to keep people in that area. Yeah. What we don't want, we absolutely do not want people spilling out from there and going drinking in other bits of the park.
Yeah, sure.
You know, in other words, they come to you and get a pint of beer and then go off and sit in the park. We don't want that because that can lead to problems. Sure. So that needs to be really tight as you can make it.
So I'm happy. I'm happy. I know that representation was withdrawn, but I'm again very happy to have that as a condition of the license that we.
Yeah, brilliant. And then sorry, Councillor Reid, I can see you've got your hand up. Just one last point about the conditions in regards to drinks to be consumed whilst sitting down at a table as a condition. Would you be happy for that as a condition?
Yeah, very happy. I don't know if it's in. I actually applied for that as part of the application, that we just wanted to be.
Okay, cool. Sorry if I missed that. Amanda, I noticed your hand up just before Councillor Root.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. I'll disregard it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Root.
Hi, I've just done a bit of Googling about sunset times, and on the 21st of June, sunset is at 21:21. On the 21st of September, it's at 19:02, and on the 21st of March, it's at 18:14, and the 21st of December is at 15:53. So based on that, I was just trying to come up with some hours which might work for you and stay sort of pretty much within daylight hours.
Okay.
So I was going to suggest that you might look at May to August, closing at 2100.
Is that when we say closing, is that last order?
That's last orders, yeah. September to October, I was thinking 1900. November to February, probably 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 1600. And March to April, 1830. So that still gives you quite a lot of time during those summer months when you need to make your money to keep you going through the lean, cold winter months.
Yeah.
And I think it might be manageable in terms of your staffing, because I do understand what you're saying about saying to somebody that they're finishing at 21:03 this week and 20, it kind of gets a bit silly. But with that sort of arrangement, you could stay broadly within the parameters that we were discussing and manage the business, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
I would say, I guess my preference would be to keep the hours as they are, but if it's a precondition, then
I suppose
the point is, I suppose if you're not going to do that, how are you going to light that area without?
Sure, as I was saying, is either we light it or we accept that condition.
It is really, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think if I could just intervene here, if you don't mind, just very briefly. I mean, I've walked past that area many times at night, you know, but I've never stopped to look at the specific lighting of that particular little bit of grass you're talking about there. I know that round the back of the building where the toilets are could potentially be a bit dark.
Yeah.
But the ambient light coming off the rest of the park may be sufficient to take you up to 10. If, for example, sun sets at like, 20 past 9. So I suppose the question is, what is it like?
Well, I'd say, I mean, it is basically the pathways are lit. I think lit quite well. I think, the further you go into this sort of corner behind, kind of, as you said, it's kind of behind where we are, where the sort of road gravestones it is a bit darker.
So I think that's the area that would basically cause public nuisance, I think.
Yeah.
I think if there'd be a way of sort of blocking it off from the church side of that, or from the St. Michael's Tower side, so that they access the toilets via the pavement. Does that make sense?
The toilet you access, there's kind of a small paved strip just kind of down the side of the building, so you could access that on the pavement anyway.
Yeah, I'm talking about this area here. This area. Yeah.
Yeah.
See that? I'm talking about this bit from there to there. We basically just block that off completely, so basically you can't enter.
I guess like so people use that
here at all. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I just lost you for a second. I would people use that as like a cut through, so people walk through kind of behind there, so it might cause issues. I think.
But what I'm saying is we just.
What I'd say, I mean, I guess
this way. Personally, I think.
Sorry, I think you cut.
You're breaking up a little bit. I can't hear you.
Yeah, likewise. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
What I might propose is there's actually some. I don't know if it's on. I can't. So let me see if I can bring up the that diagram. Are there any trees?
That area from this area here for me, that area there, that's the danger spot. I would say at night. People just hang out there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we wouldn't be putting tables out there anyway.
No, so therefore, I'd just block that bit off. I'd put a fence there and block it off and make people walk around that way.
Okay, I have to. I mean, I guess it's the I guess my concern is it's annoying people that kind of basically people cut through. So like that they'll use that as a way to cut through.
No, I know. What we're saying is we're going to stop them doing that.
Okay, fine. Just put a barrier across the back.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah,
I don't know what members think. I mean, obviously, members have got an opinion about this. I mean, this idea, members, what do you think about this idea? Because it is quite dark there. It's quite dark.
I think it makes sense, Chair. I think it makes sense for the safety of the customers and the staff as well.
Yeah.
You don't want an area like that. So it's for the well-being of the staff as well, because they will be the people who will be there later than anyone else while they're clearing up and closing up. So, and that is a very small extra walk to go that way.
Yeah, exactly.
That way, it's hardly noticeable. So I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that. Just 1 second, Max. I just want to bring in Amanda here. Sorry, Amanda.
Yes, I just wanted to check, Chair. With the hours that Councillor Root gave out, would it be closing 30 minutes after that, or would it be, what was the intention?
My suggestion was to close 30 minutes after that. So okay. Last orders at that 30 minutes. Yeah. 30 minutes after. I guess, Gilbert, my only concern about what you're saying, which I think is perfectly reasonable, is that that may be a public right of way. We may not have the power to block that off.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's a kind of litigious question, isn't it? Mr. Stewart, you had a point about this.
I did, yes. Councillor Root just made the point. I think that's a public right of way through the churchyard.
So where does the fact that he's leasing that bit of land, does that not make it private then?
I don't know, but the parts, I'm just guessing that because the park it's not closed off or it's lit, and I'm very sure it's the council that maintain all the street lights there. So So my guess is that that is a public right of way.
Yeah, but the thing is, the boundary on this map, highlighted in red, sort of designates this as its own. Well, that's what we're basically providing a premises license for this area. So that area is no longer, you know, I mean, it's in the churchyard, but it's no longer legally sort of bound by the normal regulations now that it's got a license, right? It's different.
It just goes beyond the scope of licensing, Chair.
It's
I wouldn't want
it's
to
a legal
speculate.
point, you know, but maybe that's a legal point that our lawyer needs to look into. Because I do.
Sorry,
Yeah, go on, Max.
can I just maybe a simpler option that's similar to this, which is I don't know if it's on. I actually can't see. I don't have it directly in front of me, but basically there's a kind of row of trees on that grass, which is about in line with where the kind of the back of the kitchen is and where like the toilet and sort of storage area starts. I really have no plans to put seating like in that back area, which is kind of the dark area closest to the flats.
Right.
I'd be really happy to say that the licensed area goes to basically in line with where the trees are, which is essentially where the kind of the back of the where it says the kitchen is, and that kind of avoids people being sat in the darker area, kind of a bit closer to the flats, so that everyone who is seated will be like much closer to where the lights are. Like,
but in theory, Max, if we could get over the public highway element, if we could get over that hurdle, would you be happy to block that bit off? Because I think that bit's going to present problems. That's what I think, and I think it would be best to block it off.
I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm happy. I just thought maybe a simpler solution. I'm very happy to do that. I mean, the police have already once said that they want me to put like a little barrier, kind of at the sort of western edge of the site, sort of from the walkway to like where the wall is. They've already asked me to put a small barrier in there, so
Yeah.
it's kind of easy enough to put another barrier in at the back.
Yeah, because I mean, I agree with Councillor Suzarunga's point about, you know, it's safer for everyone. It's just one of these little spots. I can just sense that it's going to be a problem, and
Yeah.
you know, we just wipe it out. If we can do it, maybe we can't do it to the public highway, but if we can look into it and we can, then I think we should.
That's no, yeah. If that's that, you can have help. That's
okay. So members, I mean, I think we've discussed this a lot. Have we covered everything?
Sorry, could I just recap about going to the loo? Because
Yeah.
thinking about that little area at the back, it does seem to me that if it's very dark there, that is a possible place that people might want to slip around rather than go to the toilets down in the narrow way. What is the situation with the loo? Are we using your loo, or are we relying?
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm very happy for that to be a condition. So as currently we've not been using it because we kind of were sharing that space with the church gardeners, and it's kind of on the same key fob system. But I've spoken to the church about it, and that we're basically going to be getting that space. So therefore we can go back. We just need to hand out a fob to customers that want to use the toilet, and obviously do our best to get it back afterwards.
Okay, so you are happy having a drinks at the table seating condition, yeah?
Yep.
You're happy for them to use the toilets. The toilet thing is massively important. I cannot stress how important it is, because what we do not want is for people from your establishment going off and peeing everywhere. And that includes people's front gardens possibly, or whatever.
That's
you know, so access to a toilet is essential. Actually, it's really important.
Yeah.
You know, and if you have 60 people there, then obviously, you know, it's one toilet, I presume, right? I mean, so it's going to have to be quite well managed. You know, to stay on top of that. And I think that's it from me. Councillor,
so from my side, I wasn't quite sure where we landed then on the hours, whether putting the barrier at the back meant we could maintain the hours I applied for, whether we still doing the sort of day.
No, I think. Well, there's 2 points. Do you accept the sunset idea? You've said no, that you just want to go with the hours that you've got. So I presume you're still there, yeah, with that one. You still want the hours that you.
If the option is put a barrier, maintain the hours we've applied for and put a barrier at the back, or apply for just sunset hours, my preference would be to keep the hours we've got with the barrier. But I wasn't 100% sure that's where we ended up.
Well, we kind of, Councillor Root, you need to answer this this one, because you were the one that suggested the sunset hours. How do you feel? Because I think the lighting, you know, if you take away that back bit, which is and then the sort of far corner bit, you probably find that the ambient lighting up to 10 is sort of adequate, and actually might add to the sort of atmosphere, if you like, you know, of sitting out, you know, having a glass of wine or whatever. It might be quite nice, you know. But the further you get to the wall, I think the darker it gets. And he's saying, you know, he's not going to go that far.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the license like there. You know, I think that's the problem, really, that we don't have a photo. We don't quite know. And you know what it's like when it's dark, when it's properly dark, at least. When you are near the light source, it's quite bright, but then quite quickly, as you move away from the light source, it's sort of darker than dark. It's very dark. Do you know what I mean?
But I think with blocking the bit off behind the building, that bit, I think we've basically solved that problem of safety. You know, that's what I think. I just think it's an area, once it's blocked off, Max, you just won't have to worry about it. You know, people just skipping around the corner, kids, whatever, scooter, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it means that you don't have to worry about it. You can just focus on the front or whatever.
When you say, and just to be clear, when you say like about, I sort of envisage just like, you know, one of those like material barriers. Did you have something more substantial in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about a kind of physical, kind of permanent barrier. I'm talking something that will do the job, and that's there. You know, it's not permanent. You know, it's mobile. You know what I mean?
You know, one of the, you know, like the two metal poles with like a, you know, material thing between them.
Yeah, you could have something like that. See how it goes. If that doesn't work, try something better. But something that you can take away. You know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be. Sorry.
You could even something which had a sign on. So if you put the barrier there, it could have a sign on which says something like, "Please don't take drinks outside of the seated area," or something like that, just to ram the message home.
Yeah, because the other thing is that's a kind of sneaky little area where people could just nip out. You know, they can just, without you seeing, really. You know what I mean? So it's just basically covering off a lot of things there.
Yeah.
Okay, so members, are you happy? Should we move on to closing remarks? I think we've had a decent discussion.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, happy for closing remarks?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, Max, just I suppose just come back and let us know, you know, your closing remarks.
But I think I, as I said everything. I think that was a good discussion. I think I sort of said what I want to say at the beginning. Happy to accept those conditions. As it might be, I'm very happy to put the barrier up and maintain the hours rather than sort of going to sunset hours. But happy to kind of accept the recommendation.
Okay, so just to clarify on the conditions, seated at alcohol taken at seats sitting down.
Yep, and that means delivery, and that means us delivering them to tables rather than.
Yes, you're happy with that condition?
Yeah, that's myself.
Okay, and then just on capacity, you said that you might go to 60. I mean, do members feel that we want to put a capacity limit on this? Because he's saying at the moment it's about 48 roughly, but it could go up to 60.
I think if we're going to restrict that area at the back, we can't extend it above 48, really.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, Max?
Well, I'm not sure I follow what but we don't, basically with the 48, that's not using, there's a lot of space still on the grass area at the front that we're not using at 48. We could easily get 60 in without extending seating anywhere near the back of it.
60 is a lot of people. You know, outside near flats, I think 60 is a lot of people. I don't. I mean, be interesting to know, but I think that the limit on the what's it called, the old town hall, what's it called now?
Hackney Tap.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's something like 24 outside.
Mm.
So
I guess I think it's probably quite a lot more. I think we're past there, obviously, than our neighbours. I think it's quite a lot more than that.
but it's not about the capacity that you can accommodate. It's very much more about the proximity of local neighbours, the amount of noise that's generated, etc., etc. And I mean, I remember sitting on the committee that decided that 24 was the right sort of number for down a bit further down, and you know, arguably where you are, there are more residential properties than there are where they are, because it's small shops really down there, isn't it? There are not that many flats above those shops. Whereas where you are, I think it's more residential.
Yeah, we want to try and avoid complaints from the residents as well if we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, just park up for a minute, Max. Have a think about that. Come back with a number in a minute. Amanda.
Yes, Chair. I just wanted to ask you, the Chair, whether or not you could check with the licensing officer whether or not it's appropriate to have a capacity figure on these premises. I don't know, or whether or not they've already got a risk assessment which adequately covers that.
Okay, did you hear that, Mr. Chewett?
I did. Yeah, first question, capacity. If minded to grant, then I don't see no reason why a capacity figure limit couldn't be attached. Fire risk assessment is a requirement for the license holder to have one, but they're not required to supply it to us.
Okay. Does that make things clear, Amanda?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes. Maybe if you want to just check what the risk assessment said, if they did one.
Yeah. Did you do a risk assessment, Max, at all to do with?
No risk assessment.
No. Okay, so let's try and find a compromise figure and make it easy for everyone. Councillor Root suggested 48. It's not far off 60, really. It's only an extra 12, which I know can make a difference, but that additional 12 could make the noise enough so that residents complain, for example. So I'm throwing Councillor Susan Runge. Do you want to throw in a figure?
I definitely think a figure of 48 is better, because the important point is that you are much nearer the flats, where Quarter Kitchen is much nearer residential flats than the Hackney Tap. So I think 48 would be the maximum for me, definitely.
Okay, Max, it's up to you now. You've got two members that are saying 48. I mean, three, actually. So
I think it's going to be 48 then, isn't it?
I have to say, I am nervous about 48 going to 10 o'clock. I really am. I think that close to those flats, that's a lot of people that close.
So what are you suggesting then, Councillor Root?
I think I'm suggesting going back to my 9 o'clock idea. The reduction in 1 hour. Yeah, I mean, forget about if you want to, if you're confident that the lighting isn't going to be an issue, forget about different seasonal ideas. But I think that we should think about 9 o'clock rather than 10 if we're going to.
What about that?
And then it's really a question for you to think: what do I want? Do I want to go to 10, but maybe with 40? Or do I want to go to 9 with 48?
I think, but I mean, the more.
What about last orders at 9, Max?
A minimum viable number, right? That we can cover our staff costs and be able to do food.
What about last orders at 9 and then you close at 9:30?
If we're saying 48 and we close at the hours at 9 o'clock, closing at 9:30, that's no problem.
So I missed that last bit. Did you say that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If it's 9 o'clock, if it's max capacity 48, and that's presumably that's because there's a slightly difference between like the number of seats we have and the number of people we have. But if that's the number of people rather than the number of seats, and we have to, but it's basically just reduce it. It's just changing the Friday, Saturday night closing time.
Yeah, but remember, it's also people drinking alcohol at sitting down. Remember. That's going to be a condition as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah. So you do need the 48 seats, you know, if you want to maximize your capacity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just realistically, I said when I say it's, you know, if we've got a bend, you know, table for 6, it's unlikely they're going to be 6 people sat on it. So it's kind of, it's 48 people rather than 48 seats. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not clear about that. To me, a seat's a seat, so it's sort of.
No,
Anyway.
it's like if you have capacity for 60, you have to make sure that no more than 48 people. Right?
Sorry.
You might have
Amanda.
difficulty policing it. That's the problem, especially if it's dark.
Yeah.
To you know, if you've got 50 seat or 55 seats out there, they might fill up, and you know, how are you gonna start throwing people off if they're.
Well, I think we just have to make it clear that we can't say we're at capacity.
Yeah, that sounds good. Amanda.
Because you're specifically saying that these are 48 customers, all of them have to be seated, is that correct?
Yeah.
So do we need to specify the tables? How many tables to fit these 48 seated customers?
Well, I guess this is my point, that it's going to be, yeah, we're going to have a few more seats to get, like, it's not going to be like every single seat will be full. So you might have a table of 3 people sat for, so maybe we have slightly more seats, but we have to manage there no more than 48 people at any one time.
Yeah. You would need 12 tables of 4 basically to make 48. So you could have like 14, you know, I don't know, 14 tables or something like that, couldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we currently have a mix of like 2, 4, and 6. It's very rare that ever 6 people sat at a 6-person kind of bench.
Yeah. Well, that's down to you to try and manage that as best you can, Max. You know.
I guess, yeah. So I guess from my side, it's much easier to say 48 people, and then we have to manage that carefully, than sort of say how many tables or chairs that means.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, it doesn't mean to say that they have to be seated having a drink, but they don't have to be seated at a table. They could be seated on a bench or something like that. You know, around the. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we're saying that. I'm not sure if we're saying the same thing. I basically say I'm very happy to say 48 people, but I don't say how many tables and chairs that equals.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Root.
Sorry, this is a bit fundamental. I feel a bit embarrassed asking this question at this point in the proceedings. Are we serving alcohol only with food, or are we serving alcohol as just alcohol?
I would like to be able to have the option to do either of those. Yeah.
I think that makes sense as well. Because actually, if we're serving alcohol freely without any food, then you're looking at sort of more of a bar situation, an outdoor bar rather than an outdoor restaurant. And I'd be quite nervous about the figure of 48 in that location. And you know, coming back to the Hackney Tap again, we settled on 24. I think, you know, there's a number of reasons for it. And if you think about it, I mean, one of them is that people get drunker if they're not eating. And so they get drunker when they're not eating. So I would fit, you know, I'm sort of, I suppose the conversation we've been having, I've been thinking this is more about serving alcohol food. But perhaps we haven't been talking about it. So it's a good idea to sort of clarify that and see what other people think about that.
Yeah, but remember, he's now talking about 9 o'clock, Penny. You know, stopping serving at 9. You know what I mean? So, you know, by then, I think this kind of establishment would be more sort of wouldn't be the kind of place you would go to kind of, you know, to get drunk. Really, you know, I wouldn't
does
think.
it include Friday and Saturday as well? Oh, sorry, Saturday. What's it on the hours? Yeah, Friday and Saturday as well will be 2100 hours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other days.
Can you just double check with the applicant that he is saying 2100 hours?
Yeah, that's fine.
So that would be right across the board then, Max.
Yeah.
Does that change things for you, Penny? The fact that
it does, I'm afraid, because for me it feels like we're starting to open a pub in the middle of the graveyard, and that's different to what I thought we were doing. I thought we
Mm.
were extending to give a cafe an alcohol license in, you know, and it feels a bit different if you say that you can go there. You know, I mean, it's just a different thing. People. I mean, you're right. People may not go there to say, let's go and have a session and all night there, but they may well just. It's a nice place to sit. It's a pleasant environment. You know, we'll start off there till we get chucked out, then we'll go somewhere else.
Could you carry on with food in the evening, Max, at all? Like,
Yeah, we will. We will be doing. That's kind of the whole point that we will be doing food and drinks in the evening.
So would you be happy to have a condition to say, you know, alcohol ancillary to food, like not a substantial table meal, but ancillary to food? So the food could be sort of tapas or whatever, or, you know, like, I don't know, like little nibbles or something, you know.
Yeah, I guess a couple of points on this. One is, I mean, obviously the business will do much better. Like, you know, we kind of want to serve foods, and essentially, ideally, we want people to be getting some dinner and a glass of wine, or like, you know, a bottle of beer or something. I guess I would also, the reason I haven't specified that isn't to go with food is like, we would also like, you know, if it's middle of the afternoon, someone to be able to come and have a glass of wine without having to have some we will be serving. If we're opening late, we're going to have the kitchen open and serving food. I'm happy for it. Yeah, I'd be very happy for it to be a condition that the kitchen, we have to be serving food as well as serving alcohol. I guess my preference would be, I guess, to enable us to have the flexibility. And again, it's probably a little, you know, it's sort of harder to yeah, I guess it'd be sort of confusing for a customer to sort of come and sort of have a drink and be told to eat with it. So yeah, I guess my preference is that we're able to do both.
I suppose it depends. It depends, Max, on your, you know, what you want the place to be. You know,
Yeah.
if you do what Councillor Root's suggesting, where you have alcohol ancillary to food, you know, not a substantial table meal, because that's another type of condition. Which, you know, we're not saying substantial table meal here. We're saying with food, it kind of changes the vibe of the place quite significantly. You know, so it's not somewhere where people just think, oh, I'll just go for a drink.
Yeah.
It's a place where people go, oh yeah, I'll go for a little bit of Mexican tapas and a glass of red wine. You know what I mean? It becomes a different kind of a place. It's like more of a, what would you call a place like that? Like, it's not a restaurant, but it's not a bar, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that, you know, that's kind of what I'm not trying to open like a bar as such. You know, we really want to extend the kitchen hours. You know, there's likely to be, you know, as it stands, there's likely to be a little window. So we'll probably close lunch service at 3, start dinner at 6.
Because it sounds to me, Max, that you know, actually you are quite largely focused on food here, in terms of what the offer is. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So I think just go with that and go with the food. You know, go with the food and the alcohol. You know, go with the alcohol ancillary to the food. Yeah. I would go for that, because that seems to be the sort of offer that you're going for.
Yeah, I guess the reason I hadn't applied for that, I guess what my preference wouldn't be for that is that I guess I wouldn't want to preclude someone that just wanted to come down at sort of 4 o'clock on Saturday and have a glass of wine.
I know, but it might mean not getting a license at all.
Okay, well then we'll have to do, if that's what you say, then we'll have to pay that condition. And the definition of food is
definition of food, lawyer. Amanda.
I don't. Well, ideally, we hope it's something like a sandwich or something, but you know, I don't know. I think it was just saying. Usually, we would say alcohol with food at all times, something like that.
Yeah, I think there was a debate, something about, what was it, a Scotch egg or something like that? Was a
yeah, I know that. Yeah, through COVID.
Well, I mean, we're not saying it's got to be a big full meal, but it's something like a sandwich or something, you know. I don't know. Yeah, David, do you have any views on that?
I guess.
Sorry, I was just going to say this, that Scotch egg, that was all about what was substantial or not. because those coronavirus regulations, if I remember correctly, talked about substantial meals.
Mm.
And I think it was an MP that was asked, is the Scotch egg substantial? So if we're saying food, then there is a definition of food, I believe. So that would be what the expectation would be.
Yeah.
Of what
I think it's
food
not
is.
really, Max, it's not about offering like a substantial menu here, really. It's about taking the emphasis away from it becoming a kind of bar. So, you know, the perception of people going there is not, we're going to the bar, but we're going to have some tapas, yeah, or whatever, and have a glass of wine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that. What about if we said like from 6 p.m. you have to have food with alcohol?
Well, I mean that's an option, Councillor Root.
Yeah, that doesn't trouble me so much. It's the night time that troubles me.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think that's a good idea, Max.
Yeah, because I think the reality is like actually we want, as I said, we don't really want someone to take up a table just having one beer, right? We want people to have food and have a drink with their food.
That sounds like a good compromise to me.
Yeah, if the kitchen was to be closed for 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon, people would still come and have a drink, and then from 6 o'clock you have food, whatever the definition of food, have food with your. And actually, that's from a business perspective, that's actually good for us.
Yeah, that sounds like a good compromise. So well done, everyone, for getting to that one.
I'll check that with the licensing officer just to make sure, but I haven't actually come across it yet. But just want to double check that we're not doing something that's not enforceable.
Okay.
So could you just repeat the condition, please? Let's make a note.
It would be basically they'd be allowed to serve alcohol up until 6, from 12 to 6, just alcohol at seats, and then after 6 there would have to be ancillary to food until closing.
Okay, so ancillary to a customer has to order food with their alcohol.
Yeah, from 6, from 6 to 9,
6 to close. Yep, that would be enforced.
And just to be from my side, just to be perfectly clear, does that say if someone's bought a taco and a beer, could they order a second beer? If they've already ordered the taco, maybe even finished the taco, could they order another drink, or would they have to order every time they order? They have to order food with the drink.
Good point, David. You would probably know more about that than me.
I guess it depends how the conditions is worded. So in a restaurant setting, it's normally alcohol being ancillary to a meal. So the person that has a meal, the alcohol is ancillary to that. Where I think what's being proposed here is you must order food with your alcohol. So it could be either way, really, isn't it?
But couldn't we say the same thing? Couldn't we say, alcohol is ancillary to food? So I went out on Saturday night and had a pizza with a beer, and then I was asked if I wanted another beer, which is what you're talking about, and I said yes. And that doesn't seem, I mean, what we want to avoid is somebody buying a bag of crisps as their food and then sitting there and spilling 5 pints. That's what we want to avoid.
Yeah.
I think, that phrasing that David said about alcohol being ancillary to food is after 6 o'clock is fine, isn't it? That gives you the option to serve a second beer or even a third.
So it's kind of, it's sort of within the same sort of setting. Ordered,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I just clarify, Chair? We're saying 12 till 6 p.m. alcohol to seated customers. Yeah. And then from 6 p.m. to 2100 hours, closing at 21:30.
Yeah.
Food ancillary to alcohol to seated customers. Waiter waitress service. Is it? Did you want waiter service as well? Or not?
Yep. Waiter service was agreed. Yeah.
That was. I think we would agree.
It's not exactly service. It's,
the table is bringing alcohol to the table, food and alcohol to the table, rather than us taking orders at tables.
Yep. So alcohol ancillary to food from 6 to 9. I mean, I think that could work really well, Max, down there actually, and it takes the emphasis away from the bar, makes members feel a bit more secure. The residents are, hopefully unlikely to complain. If it's well managed, which we hope it will be. You know, that we've got every confidence that you'll be able to do that. You know, so I think overall, you know, I think members are probably quite happy with where we ended up. I hope you are too. And
yeah, that's fine. That's all. Yeah, that's all very reasonable, I think.
Sorry, did we get on to closing remarks?
You were asking him, and I think he said that he'd more or less said everything he wanted to say. So then, then Councillor Root raised the issue about whether or not.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, so we've had a good discussion. We've had closing remarks. We've had a bit of consensual stuff going on. Brilliant. Final point of clarification from members, please.
No points of clarification, thank you.
I'm very clear.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Root, for getting us to this point. I think was important. Okay, well, Max, thank you very much. You know, we wish you all the best with your venture. I shall probably attend myself for a little tapas down there one evening, I'm sure. So yeah, great.
Great. And when should I expect to hear the sort of formal?
You can telephone the department tomorrow. They let you know. You get a skeleton decision, Amanda, within 5 working days.
Yes. Yeah. The skeleton, the summary of the decision is tomorrow, and then the written decision in 5 days.
Okay, and when would we be able to, assuming it would, you know, we were granted the license, when would we be able to start operating the?
Immediately.
Okay. Cool.
Is that correct, David? If we grant it, then, you know.
Yes.
Then you should be able to get going immediately.
Great. All right, thanks for that.
Okay, all the best.
Great, thanks.
Cheers, bye.
Thanks.
Bye.